This is the Yankees Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Yankees. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, the Yankees' struggles against the American League East continue. They lose to the Rays tonight in the Bronx. Final score 4-2 in the first of four. New York has now lost, get this, 19 of 30 against the AL East this season. Now, Cam Schlittler wasn't great, and obviously neither were the bats of the Yankees. In fact, at one point, Tampa starter Drew Rasmussen retired 12 Yankees in a row. I'll give you an idea of just what kind of night it was in the Bronx. Again, 4-2, the final score. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. Glad to have you aboard. Please follow me on X as well, at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Yankees postcast, both on the Locked On Yankees YouTube channel and the Locked On Yankees podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to chat after every game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Before we begin, let's let you know that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. for 50% off your very first year. As we said, not much good from tonight.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, it bears repeating. The Yanks are now losers of 19 of 30 against their own division. Now, there are good teams in the division, obviously Toronto being one. There are bad teams in the division as well. Baltimore not having a good year. So there's a mix. So it's not exactly like they're all good or all bad teams. Yanks just struggling against everybody in the division right now. In fact, the Yanks overall are now 15-24 since June 13th. So that's roughly 6 weeks, roughly 40 games, and they're not playing good baseball. And that's why they failed to take advantage of a Toronto loss tonight. A Yankee win would have got them within 4.5. Instead, it remains at 5.5. The Blue Jays lose and the Yankees lose. By the way, the Blue Jays lost to the Baltimore Orioles. So what's interesting about tonight, and obviously the bats have not been a problem. However, we've had Aaron Judge until now. So things are going to change. Expectations are going to change from an offensive standpoint for the Yankees. Now, as we said, the Rays were struggling as well, at least before they got to the Bronx. They had lost 4 in a row. They were just swept by the Reds, and they've lost 17 of their last 23 coming into tonight. And what do? They shut down the Yankees. To be fair, Drew Rasmussen is their quote-unquote ace. His ERA entering tonight, less than 3. It remains there. It's now 2.96. However, the Rays throwing their ace against a team without the services of Aaron Judge, it's a game changer, folks. You're going to have to adjust to life without Aaron Judge. Now, hopefully, knock on wood, we'll see him at least in a DH role in the next couple of weeks. Now, when we heard Judge say that when the 10 days are up for the IL stint, he'll be back, who knows? You never know how the arm is going to react to treatment, react at all in a positive way. So we'll have to wait and see. At the very least, it's a week and a half to 2 weeks without Aaron Judge. And again, the Yanks are going to have to get used to it. 3 more with Tampa, 3 in Miami, 3 in Texas before they return home for Minnesota and, for Houston and then Minnesota. So again, the schedule is no friend of the Yankees of late. Lots of difficult matchups over the next 2 weeks. We'll just have to see how the Yankees tread water and if they can, because, of course, they're forging ahead without their best player. As for Rasmussen, we told you at one point retired 12 in a row. Now, he struggled in the very first inning. The 2-run shot in the top of the first off of Cam Schlittler to Caminero put the Rays on the board. Thought at that point it might be a long night. Yanks bounced back with 2 bases loaded walks in the bottom of the first, and then I really thought it was going to be a long night. But that's really when Cam Schlittler sort of calmed down. He got through 4 1/3 actually. But that's when Drew Rasmussen really settled down and locked in. He was locked in. In fact, at one point retired 12 Yankees in a row. What's interesting about tonight is only one Yankee had multiple hits. That's Jason Dominguez, obviously is a left-handed batter against the right-handed starter Rasmussen. But in his what would have been his 4th at-bat, he was pinch hit for by Ahmed Rosario, his Yankee debut against a lefty. That's why they didn't want Dominguez batting right-handed. What does Rosario do? Singles. So technically from the 2 spot in the batting order, we had 3 hits tonight. The rest of the hits, not much. Bellinger, Stanton, and Ryan McMahon all had singles. Not a single extra base hit for the Yankees tonight. And obviously they took advantage of the walks in the first inning when Rasmussen was, to be fair, getting squeezed a little bit. The pitch to Jazz on the inside corner was close, could have gone either way. But still, he settled in nicely, retired 12 in a row at one point. There was the Dominguez single and there was the Rosario single, and those were the only 2 hits in between those 4 or 5 innings for the Yankees. So it was really, really, really very much of a struggle tonight for the Yankees to put any type of rally together. Once they had the 2 runs in the first inning, after that, it was lights out. As we said, plenty of strikeouts to go around as well. 2 each for Stanton and Jazz Chisholm. By the way, Jazz did drive in a run in that first inning, obviously with the bases loaded walk, but Jazz's average down to 248 for the season. Meanwhile, Anthony Volpe struck out 2 more times, took another offer. The average continues to plummet, now hitting 213. Meanwhile, the top half of the batting order, not much to write home about. Trent Grisham went 0 for 4. Jazz, as we said, went 0 for 3. Paul Goldschmidt went 0 for 4. And a Goldschmidt's average is still there at 283. However, it's been slowly going down. So we'll have to wait and see how much playing time Paul Goldschmidt gets moving forward. Now, what's interesting about that first inning is we told you, or at least I told you, that it felt like it was going to be a long night. Well, believe it or not, the 2 pitchers combined to throw 64 pitches. 64 pitches, 33 and 31. Rarely do you see 64 pitches thrown in one single inning from starters. It's different when you have relievers in the end of the game and the manager might go to 2 or 3 different relievers in an inning. That is when you might get a pitch count roughly combined of around 60. Well, we got it tonight in the very first inning. Struggles from Schlittler out of the gates, struggles from Rasmussen out of the gates. But again, they both tended to settle down. Schlittler 4 1/3, 7 hits, 3 earned, 4 walks, 5 Ks, not his best effort. Again, just his 3rd start in the major leagues. As for Rasmussen, 5 innings, 2 earned, 2 walks, 5 Ks. But again, he was lights out after that first inning when he obviously issued both those bases loaded walks. And they're clearly worried, not that we are, but they're clearly worried about pitch count with Rasmussen. From a Yankees perspective, they were happy to get him out of the game. He only threw 81 pitches after 5. I was surprised Kevin Cash pulled the hook, but again, they talked about it. He obviously is coming back from not 1, not 2, but 3 elbow surgeries, so they take it easy with him. Needless to say, it was the right move because the Yankees didn't score. Uceda, Clevenger, and Fairbanks shut the door in the final 4 innings. Uceda was perfect. 2 perfect innings, striking out 4. What a force he was in the 6th and 7th innings. As for the Yankees bullpen, with one small blip, courtesy of Luke Weaver, who actually didn't even pitch that poorly, but Brent Hedrick, Ian Hamilton, Luke Weaver, Tim Hill, and JT Brubaker held down the Rays fairly well. They only allowed 1 earned run, and considering how bad the bullpens have been for the better part of 2 months, not a bad night for the Yankee bullpen. So that's something to take positive out of the night. Again, 4-2 the final score. Yanks are now 57-49. They're 31-22 at home. But again, more importantly, they remain 5.5 behind the Blue Jays, who were blown out in Baltimore by the Orioles tonight. By the way, don't think I forgot about it, because I didn't. We'll talk about Anthony Volpe coming up next. We'll also do player of the game. I want to dissect Anthony Volpe's night. We'll do that all coming up next. All right, ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one single place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. If you've ever wished you had all your accounts and spending in one place, Monarch Money is for you. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your very first year. All right, up next, Game Day Hugh. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hugh. For Yankee fans like me, this one hits the mark. Game Day Hugh makes clean, no-logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it on the golf course. It's subtle, stylish, and I can still rep my team. I've worn mine to tailgates, tee times, and just out running errands, and I always get compliments. And it's not just hats. How about their split-shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything? Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. All right, we're back, and you know what time it is.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
We'll give it to Jason Dominguez tonight. He was the only Yankee with 2 hits, and he was pinch hit for. Obviously, both those singles coming off a right-handed pitcher, so he was the left-handed batter. Once the lefty came in, there was no way they were letting Dominguez hit, especially with Rosario now on the roster. So Jason Dominguez had 2 hits. Ahmed Rosario had the pinch hit, which of course came out the lefty. Only 2 of those, or 3 of the 6 hits, just 6 hits the Yankees had. They were all singles, not a single extra base hit. And the RBIs, obviously, with bases loaded walks on their ledger, Ryan McMahon and Jazz Chisholm. All right, so to Anthony Volpe now, who in the top of the 8th took a grounder from Jose Caballero. It wasn't easy. He technically booted it. They gave him a single, could have very easily given him an error, which would have been 14. Now, point is that he was booed. And he was booed pretty loudly. And it was audible on TV. I can't imagine what it was like in the stadium. So now, every time he boots a ball, which unfortunately is frequently, he's going to get booed. Now, he struck out twice, went 0 for 3, and there were murmurs after the at-bats. But again, a loud boo after the boot at shortstop. So now you got to wonder about confidence. It's bad enough he's hitting .213 and can't field anything. His confidence has got to be shook. So we'll keep our eyes on Anthony Volpe. Luis Gil will make his last rehab start at AAA tomorrow. If all goes well, obviously he'll be back in the rotation in August. The Yankees also made a trade. Carlos Carrasco is no longer a Yankee. Cookie gets traded to the Braves in exchange for cash considerations. All right, as for the probables for the rest of the series, Fried Boyle on Tuesday, Warren Littell on Wednesday, Stroman Pepio on Thursday. So again, Max Fried, his second start since the All-Star break, Will Warren on Wednesday, Marcus Stroman on Thursday. As we said, 3 more with the Rays. Then we have 3 in Miami with the Marlins, who are not terrible. 3 in Texas with the Rangers, not terrible either, and not an easy place to play, especially without your best player. After that, they return home to the Yanks for Houston and Minnesota. So again, the schedule is brutal. Thanks for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long, get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also want to mention our partners in crime at Locked On Yankees, Stacey Goutsoulias and Brian McKeon. Again, the stuff at Locked On Yankees is theirs, and they do a wonderful job, so follow, subscribe, and enjoy. 4-2 the final score. Now, because of the Blue Jays' loss to the Orioles, Yanks don't lose any ground in the AL East. They're still 5.5 back of Toronto. However, Yanks continue to lose against the AL East. They're now 19 of 30 as far as losses. They've lost 19 of 30 against the AL East this season. And the Yanks are 15 and 24 overall since June 13th. Things have got to get better. Again, 4-2 the final score. Tomorrow, more of the same. And of course, we'll be with you immediately following the game. Have a wonderful Monday night, everyone.